What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us Season 2, and something that I found rather interesting. Also, I feel like it was definitely the plan, right? When you do a show like this, and as you have now gotten closer and closer, and you've premiered Season 2, honestly, the number one thing you probably want to do is have people talking, right? That's easily number one. You also want people probably referencing the game and bringing the game back up. And I will say, okay, general theme of this video, that's what I've seen happen. That is, it's something kind of interesting. I want to go deeper into it in this video because all of these talking points, everything that we lived through 5 years ago, and it doesn't feel like 5 years, at least to me, anymore, because they're all being brought up again now. And I think you can say a couple different things about it, right? Number one, I would say, like, why haven't we learned our lesson as a society? Why haven't we learned to just not bring this stuff up anymore? No, but, okay, well, here's the honest thing, right? There are things you can bring up, and I think there is venting that can occur. There is constructive criticism. There is praise and appreciation and love. There's all sorts of different feelings you can have, towards The Last of Us 2. It's just, it's funny, and it's also, again, I think, absolutely what they want. And that's why, a lot of these, like, grifters and these certain people, people that I don't think are coming at it from the greatest angle. I think you can have honest conversations about the source material. I think you can have honest conversations about the show. Oftentimes, much like many things, in the gaming culture nowadays, it gets hijacked and it gets taken over by, I think, people that don't actually care about games. They don't actually care about anything except for the message that they're pushing, and it really comes from both sides. I think the pendulum has swung very far into, like, the anti-woke crowd, and so you're kind of seeing more of that, but both sides do it, or both sides have done it, I should say. But you know what? I mean, regardless of your personal opinion on it, and again, for these grifters kind of talking about it and having their own personal slant, what's interesting is I think it's still all part of the plan. Like, this is something I feel up until this point. Now, I think it absolutely could backfire eventually. It was something that for the last 2 years, I think we've kind of thought in the back of our head, when they do that decision, which is probably next week or maybe the week after, what's going to happen? And, like, how many people are watching the show that haven't played the game? That's something that I feel like we never really know. Like, you can kind of look at numbers of, like, I think the episode 1 of season 2 got, like, 5.3 million. Then it kind of gets, like, the week numbers, right? Like, it's the numbers at launch and then kind of the numbers over the week. It'll get 10, 12, 15 million viewers. Of those viewers, how many people have not played the games? And I don't know. My initial gut reaction would be like 30 or 40% maybe have never played the games, but it could be more, it could be less, right? And so again, like, when they make certain decisions, what are people going to do? That the jury is still out on that. Okay, so everything that I'm kind of talking about, I guess it's with an asterisk that things can definitely change over the next couple of weeks. But I think what I'm talking about and what you probably will continue to see is slightly separated from, like, whether the population is going to watch the show or not, or there's going to be a drop or not. All of the good, all of the bad, all of the fighting, all of the nonsense, all of the non-nonsense is all coming back up, right? Like, I do find that to be kind of special. And I will say, I've said it time and time again, 4 or 5 years. It's probably my number one asked question as a content creator is, what did you think of The Last of Us Part 2? I don't think I've ever been asked a question, besides maybe Sly Cooper, as much as that. And I honestly feel like there's something to that where, because I've said before, I'm not even a huge fan of the story arcs and some of the decision-making of Last of Us 2, I think are just not good. I think those are the weakest parts of the game. I think the game as a video game, at least parts of it, are quite phenomenal, in terms of the actual mechanics and whatnot. I think it is kind of elite in its own right and continues that Naughty Dog kind of pioneering trend. I just feel like some bad decisions were made, and I'm not even talking about the elimination of a certain character. I'm talking about some themes. I'm talking about kind of the feel of the game. I'm talking about some of the way that they put things in order in the game, the way that they handled Abby in large portions of the game. My criticisms, I feel like, have been directed, I think, in like a positive, like a constructive, right? Where you can kind of listen to them and hopefully understand, even if you're not, in total agreement with me, right? And that's something that I've kind of seen, but not really. Like, most of what I've seen so far, social media wise, on this is a lot lot of people bracing for impact, right, for the next episode, but then also a lot of people, I think, coming to the game's defense, and then just the people that kind of go at the game. And again, this is where I will say both sides. And you could say, oh, well, what is one side doing versus another? Look, one thing I've specifically seen, and I'm not a huge fan, is when people say, like, coming to defense of the game, right, and saying, you just don't get it. You just don't get it, and that's why you think the game is bad. To me, that's almost, it probably is actually not even almost, that is as bad as me just telling you, or somebody just telling you online, it's just pure garbage because it is pure garbage, and just live with it, right? Maybe you can't see through it. You're so blinded by this or that you can't see that it's garbage. If you think about it, right? One is coming at it definitely with hate, in terms of a little bit more of a negative slant. But in all reality, okay, in all honesty, the message of what these people are trying to say is the same, right? It's like my way or the highway, or, you're too stupid to see it my way, or you just don't get it. I think, again, that terminology of you just don't get what they were trying to do. See, this is why it makes sense that Abby did this. This is why this or that happened. I really hate seeing that. It's probably one of the stupidest things that I personally see online. I feel like that very much makes it an objective thing. Like, you're trying to make it objective and say, no, objectively, it's a masterpiece. Your subjective opinion makes you think that maybe there's some flaws in it, but you just don't actually get it. That's just as stupid, in my opinion. And this kind of conversation, by the way, I feel like gets me the most hate. You want me to be honest? You want me to tell you how I feel? This is how I feel. That is a very stupid mindset, at least in my opinion, because I feel like, and maybe that's a selfish thing from me, because I do see flaws in this game. I do not think Last of Us 2 is a perfect game. And by the way, I keep talking about the game, but okay, the show is mirroring quite heavily, right? Not one for one. There are definitely scenes that you can watch online, kind of the one-to-one comparisons, but again, this is the thing, like, we're living it again, and I just feel like the show has kind of brought that stuff back up, where it's like, okay, well, now you're seeing it in a different light, because now it's, now it's real life people, now it's Hollywood versus gaming, and now everything, like I said, word for word, everything that people said when they were giving this game 10s, when they were giving this game 0s, when they were saying, you don't get it, it's trash, or you don't get it, it's perfect, right? You're seeing everything like that. You're just seeing it again, because I feel like those sides, you can't lose. You can't lose an argument. You have to be right. So you have to kind of come back 5 years later to defend your ground. And look, social media, it's a place for bickering. It's a place for that kind of stuff. I definitely get it to a fair degree, right? There can also be a large sense of fun in it. And again, going back to kind of like that middle point I had, up until this point, I feel like it's kind of a win-win no matter what for the show, because you're talking about the game again, so that's a win, because naturally people are going to go back to the game, or people are going to buy it for the first time. That's why the complete edition exists, which, we've talked about. That's why Part 2 remastered on PC exists, right? You think there's a reason, there obviously is a reason why they timed it like they did, right? Releasing Part 2 a couple weeks ago to go on PC, or last week actually, right? To go on PC lines up perfectly with the show, and then the complete edition, I think July 10th, comes out like a month and a half after the show ends. So they want this. They want people to talk about it, because ultimately they want people to go back and play Part 2 or buy it for the first time. And to be honest with you, okay, I was already going to do this. My plan for a long, long time, for probably the last 2 years, has been to go back and play Last of Us Part 2 for the second time ever, right? I only played it originally when it launched. I was going to go back and play it for the 5-year anniversary, and I'm still going to do that. I'm going to make a video on my Back to the Past channel, my retrospective channel. I'm very pumped. I will say, this show has gotten me triple excited to do that entire arc. I was already going to do it. I didn't need the show. If the show came out last year, if it came out next year, my plan was to kind of do it for the 5-year, was to re-experience it and see if anything's changed in my head about how I feel about the game. This show has actually escalated it to the point that I kind of want to start playing it today, just because, like, it's in the moment, right? Like, there's that almost the FOMO, but almost like, well, everybody's talking about it. It's right in front of you. Now you're seeing, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. You're seeing it live, and there's that feel to kind of go back and re-experience it. So that's like, again, how's that a lose in any way for Naughty Dog or for the games, right? Now, again, maybe something changes over the next couple weeks, maybe once that decision is made in the show. It depends. I feel like how if they deviate at all from it, or the lead up, or right after, we'll see. Like, we'll see what the fallout of that decision is. I'm very interested to see the fallout. I'm not very interested to see it, but I am interested to see, what people think of it directly after. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I feel like this is kind of a good thing for Naughty Dog and the game, and I do think it's exciting. Again, because it's impacted even me. Like, you see everybody talking about it, and although I feel like it's definitely bringing up some of the worst conversation points from 5 years ago, it's literally bringing them back up again, word for word, same plot points of the arguments. At the same time, it's people talking about it, and it doesn't really feel fresh, but it's kind of like in a fresh way because of the show, right? So I guess it kind of is. And ultimately, it's kind of making me want to go back to a game that I've always had, and probably always will have, extremely mixed emotions on. So I feel like it's kind of working, at least on me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.